Hi guys. So in today's episode of Eat Right with Yogesh Dikshit, we'll take a look at some of the most commonly used sugars, hidden sugars in everyday processed foods. So before we go there, we'll take a look at different forms of sugar because it is very important to understand that and how conveniently, how incorrectly some of those forms are being loaded in the processed food and being touted, being branded as healthy food as such. So sugar is broadly categorized into three. One is simple, which is further divided into monosaccharide and disaccharide. Mono has only one sugar molecule and disaccharide has two different kinds of sugar molecules contained in it. And it is again further subdivided into many other forms like glucose, like sucrose, fructose, lactose, maltose, and so on and so forth. The second one is oligosaccharide, which has more than three molecules of sugar, and which is typically found in products such as dals, lentils, pulses, and so on and so forth. And the third one is the complex, which is typically found in green vegetables, and it is also subdivided into a starch and fibers as such. So typically across all these, oligosaccharides are supposed to be, and obviously the complex carbs, right, the starch and fibers are supposed to be best suitable for consumption, and it is probably one of the best suitable for digestion and metabolism as well. But not all forms of sugars are being used in industrialized, processed or refined foods as such. Largely they use the simple forms of sugar, which is sucrose, glucose, fructose, maltose, and so on and so forth. And this is typically for it is very widely available and very cheap as such. It increases volume and shelf life of the food product. And the last one and the most important one is it is very addictive, so people come back for this particular kind of food very often. So these are the names of the sugar or forms of sugar you will typically found on any of the refined food products or packets. Very widely it will have either a glucose or high fructose corn syrup or agave nectar as such, because again for the same reason that these are very widely available, cheap, and very palatable. The next are typically coming from originating from let's say a vegetable or a fruit or a crop, like let's say a beetroot sugar, coconut, date, honey, maple syrup, molasses, like from sugarcane. So those are the kind of sugars that you'll find and would be masked inside the food products. And the last one could be originating from malt, like malt syrup, maltodextrin, maltose, or even dextrine and dextrose, and so on and so forth. So earlier we have seen how refined carbs, processed carbs, or for that matter sugar, can lead to insulin resistivity and further to multiple metabolic disorders. So now knowing that the food companies across the globe, what they've been doing very smartly and very wisely, they have been making people addictive of these products which are having loads of sugar, different forms of sugar contained in it. So the tricks can be they use different labels, not sugar, so that it doesn't appear very quickly while purchasing any processed food. What they do is like they use different forms of different forms of sugar, but in little quantities, so that it won't occur to people while purchasing again, because they're like distributed so thin across different forms that people don't get to understand it. The third one is they package the food in a bite size or very small size quantity, so that people can have it without any guilt very frequently and in larger quantities. So again their purpose is solved in terms of selling more products, minting more money. They can also churn out the varieties of their very healthy food, and then in those varieties they can add again lots of different forms of sugar without even people knowing about that. So let's come to the interesting yet alarming part of our discussion. Let's take a look at some of the stapled, very common sets of processed foods that we use every day in our homes. So let's start with ketchup, right? I mean, any tomato ketchup bottle that you get to see, and if you just pour 1 tablespoon of ketchup sauce, tomato sauce, in your plate, you'll essentially be consuming 5 grams of sugar just within that 1 tablespoon. Same is the case with any bakery product. For example, a biscuit, a pack of biscuit, which is something like a Mari, right? I mean, which is branded as very, very healthy for even diabetics. So a Mari, or let's say even something like a digestive biscuit, would have at least 20 grams of sugar in a pack of 100 grams of biscuit. So that's too much on the higher side. If you remember, the 5 to 6 liters of blood in our body contains only 5 grams of sugar, against which most of these food items are loaded with huge amounts of sugar or forms of sugar. Be it your health bars, sports drinks, protein bars, fruit juices, namkeen, flavored yogurts, cornflakes, mueslis, right? I mean, number of those items which are being branded as very healthy are underlying having huge amounts of sugar, and which is really very harmful or damaging for our body, and shouldn't be consumed at all in first place. So friends, hopefully by now you must have gotten some understanding about carbohydrates and sugar, and typically which are better amongst those to be for consumption and which are to be completely dropped as such. The most important thing that you need to be always be doing is reading the labels. So whenever you go for shopping in any mall, any grocery store, please look at the backside and check out what are the ingredients and how much amount of sugar it has, and what are the different forms of sugar it possibly has, and make sure that you are dropping all those which are having which are loaded with a lot of sugar. So read labels and eat right. Stay well. Thanks for watching.